There was a boy born in the year 2000 who could run like a sprinter, leap like a basketball player, and strike fear into goalkeepers before he could even drive a car. A boy who didn't just dream of scoring goals, but made it his natural instinct. This is not a story about someone who stumbled into football. No, this is the story of a child who had the game written in his DNA. The Viking from Norway who would one day become a goal-scoring machine. But before the packed stadiums, the booming chants, and the Champions League highlights, there was a boy named Erling Haaland, growing up in the small town of Bryne with an even bigger dream. Erling Haaland was born on July 21, 2000, in Leeds, England. Now, you might wonder how a Norwegian superstar ends up being born in England. Well, here's the backstory. His father, Erling Haaland, was a professional footballer himself. At the time of Erling's birth, Erling was playing in the PremierLeague for Leeds United. That's right. Erling was literally born into football. His father played as a tough midfielder and defender, known for his no-nonsense style. His mother, Marita Braut, was no slouch either. She was a national champion heptathlete in Norway. So, from day one, Erling had the perfect mix: power, athleticism, and competitive fire. He was the youngest of 3 children. His older siblings, brother Aster and sister Gabrielle, were a tight part of his world growing up. His family was sporty, supportive, and deeply connected. But soon after he was born, his dad's football career came to a rough end after a clash with Manchester United's Roy Keane, that infamous tackle. So, the family packed up and moved back to their hometown of Bryne, a quiet, cozy town on the southwestern coast of Norway. This is where the real story begins. Bryne was not a flashy city. It wasn't filled with cameras or giant stadiums. But it had something even better for a growing footballer: freedom. Erling had fields to run on, a garden to kick in, and a community that supported young talent. And oh, he had energy, a lot of it. By the time he was 5 years old, Erling was already obsessed with football, not just playing in the yard, but getting better kicking with both feet, practicing dribbles, and always wanting to score. He also had another interesting talent. He could jump. At just 5 years old, Erling set a world record for the longest-standing long jump for his age group, 1.63 meters. That's over 5 feet. The world didn't know it yet, but this kid was different. Erling joined his hometown club, Bryne FK, when he was just 5 years old. It wasn't long before coaches began whispering about this skinny, blonde kid who had unbelievable instincts. He wasn't the strongest yet, but he had speed, timing, and confidence even as a child. One of his youth coaches, Alf Ingve Berntsen, once said that even at 11 years old, Erling always wanted to play with kids 2 or 3 years older than him. And not only did he keep up, he dominated. That hunger to test himself against tougher competition never went away. His mindset was laser sharp even as a child. While other kids might celebrate flashy tricks, Erling always focused on goals. He once told a youth coach, "Why should I dribble past 3 defenders when I can just run and score?" That direct, goal-hungry mentality shaped the striker we see today. During his early teens, Erling went through a transformation. He wasn't always the big, bulky machine we know today. In fact, he was once small for his age. But around age 14, he began to grow, and he didn't stop. His body started catching up with his ambition. He became taller, faster, and more powerful, but never lost his technical skills. That's a rare combo. Usually, big players lose their speed. But Erling, he became a 6'4" rocket with the feet of a winger and the head of a striker. His coaches at Bryne FK said he was like a sponge. He absorbed everything. He trained hard, stayed humble, and never took shortcuts. But what really made him stand out his obsession with improvement. He didn't just want to play football, he wanted to be the best. In 2015, at just 15 years old, Erling made his debut for Bryne's reserve team. Not long after, he was promoted to the first team, competing in Norway's second division. He didn't score in his first few games, but people saw it, this kid was going places. His time at Bryne was short, but vital. It gave him a taste of professional football, the physical battles, the speed of the game, and the pressure to perform. Erling took it all in stride. And then came the move that would shift everything. At 16 years old, Erling made a big leap, joined moldefk, one of Norway's top clubs. And guess who his manager was? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the former Manchester United legend. Solskjaer saw something special in Erling right away. He worked closely with him on positioning, finishing, and the art of being a true number 9. It paid off. In his very first game for Molde, Erling scored. He ended his debut season with 4 goals, and in the next one, he exploded, scoring 16 goals in 30 games. It wasn't just the goals. Scouts from across Europe started watching. They saw a tall, fast, fearless teenager who seemed to always be in the right place at the right time. He had the killer instinct of a seasoned pro. When Red Bull Salzburg came calling, Haaland didn't hesitate. This was the next level, the bright lights of European football. And it was here that Erling would explode onto the global stage and leave scouts, fans, and defenders stunned. Let's dive into the next chapter of his journey from the Austrian Bundesliga to the roar of Dortmund's Yellow Wall. In January 2019, at just 18 years old, Erling Haaland signed a 5-year deal with Red Bull Salzburg, Austria's top club. Salzburg had a reputation for developing young stars, and they saw something special in Haaland. It wasn't just his size or speed, it was the way he played. He ran like a sprinter, thought like a sniper, and played with the hunger of someone who wanted to dominate every game. Even though he joined mid-season, he settled in quickly, but it was the 2019-2020 season that would make headlines around the world. If there was a single moment that announced Haaland to the world, it happened on September 17, 2019. Red Bull Salzburg versus Genk, Champions League debut. What did Erling do? He scored a hat-trick in just 45 minutes, 3 goals, 1 half, on the biggest stage in Europe. Commentators couldn't believe what they were seeing. It wasn't just that he scored, it was how he did it. One touch, blistering speed, ice-cold finishes. That season, Haaland scored 8 goals in 6 Champions League group stage matches, including goals against Napoli and Liverpool. By the end of the group stage, he was among the top scorers in the entire competition. And in Austria's domestic league, he was just as lethal, racking up goals almost every single game. Suddenly, the biggest clubs in Europe were knocking on his door. In January 2020, Haaland made his next move, this time to Borussia Dortmund in the German Bundesliga. Many expected him to sign for Manchester United or Juventus, but Haaland made a smart decision. Dortmund had a strong track record of developing young talent. They gave chances, they built stars, and Haaland? He didn't want to sit on the bench. He wanted to play, grow, and keep scoring. Dortmund was the perfect fit. On January 18, 2020, Erling made his debut for Borussia Dortmund against Augsburg. He didn't start the match. He came on in the 56th minute. But in just 23 minutes, he scored a hat-trick, 3 goals, 1 half, a debut to remember again. The Bundesliga had never seen anything like it. Big, fast, strong, and completely ruthless in front of goal. He didn't celebrate with wild dances or flashy gestures. He just ran back to the halfway line with that laser-sharp stare. From that point on, the records started falling one after the other. He became the fastest player in Bundesliga history to score 5 goals, doing it in just 2 games. He scored 10 goals in his first 7 Bundesliga matches, more than any newcomer before him. He became the youngest player in Champions League history to score 15 goals and did it in just 12 games, faster than anyone else. In 2021, he was awarded the Golden Boy Award, recognizing him as the best young player in Europe. And it wasn't just stats. It was how he scored left foot, right foot, headers, counterattacks, tape-ins, screamers. He had no weak spot. And his speed? For someone standing 6'4", it was unreal. Dortmund fans adored him. He fed off their energy, especially in the famous Yellow Wall, where 25,000 fans screamed their hearts out behind the goal. Every match became a show. In 2020-21, during the Champions League round of 16 against Sevilla, he scored 4 goals across 2 legs, including 2 away in Spain. He wasn't just keeping up with Europe's best, he was outshining them. By the end of that season, Haaland had scored 41 goals in 41 games for Dortmund. He was only 20 years old. He became one of the most feared strikers in world football. Fast, clinical, and deadly. Commentators started calling him a robot, a machine, a cyborg striker. But behind that fierce image was still the kid from Bryne, humble, focused, and deeply committed to becoming the best version of himself. What made Haaland so different wasn't just the goals, it was his mentality. He watched his diet closely, slept early, trained with insane intensity, and studied the greats like Cristiano Ronaldo and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He even practiced meditation to stay calm before matches. He never drank soda, avoided sugar, and stayed away from distractions. His goal wasn't just to be good. He wanted to be legendary. By 2022, the world knew that Erling Haaland wasn't just a rising star anymore, he was ready to dominate the game. He had scored 86 goals in just 89 matches for Dortmund. He'd proven himself in the Bundesliga, in Europe, and in clutch moments. The only question, what was next? Clubs like Real Madrid, Manchester City, Barcelona, and Paris Saint-Germain all wanted him. But Haaland, like always, took his time. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing a legacy. In the summer of 2022, after months of speculation, it became official: Erling Haaland signed with Manchester City. The transfer fee? Around £51 million, a bargain considering what followed. City, managed by Pep Guardiola, had been dominating English football, but many said they were missing one thing: a true number 9. And Haaland was the perfect fit. Fast, strong, ruthless, and young. For Haaland, the move wasn't just about money or fame. It was about playing at the highest level under one of the greatest managers in modern football and proving he could do it in the toughest league in the world. Haaland's Premier League debut came on August 7, 2022 against West Ham United. What did he do? Scored 2 goals. The critics who questioned whether he'd adapt to English football were suddenly very quiet. In the weeks that followed, he went on a scoring rampage. Hat-trick versus Crystal Palace, hat-trick versus Nottingham Forest, hat-trick versus Manchester United. That's 3 hat-tricks in his first 8 league games. No player in Premier League history had done that before. His movement, strength, and instinct were unmatched. City's midfield, especially Kevin De Bryne, linked perfectly with him. All Haaland had to do was make the run. The rest took care of itself. By the time the season hit the halfway mark, Haaland had already scored 25 Premier League goals. That was more than many players score in an entire season, and he didn't stop there. He broke the Premier League single-season goal record, scoring 36 goals in just 35 appearances. He became the fastest player to reach 20 Premier League goals, doing it in just 14 games. He scored 12 goals in the Champions League, finishing as the competition's top scorer. He netted 5 goals in a single Champions League game against RB Leipzig. He was rewriting the record books in real time. With Haaland leading the attack, Manchester City reached new heights. They won the Premier League, the FA Cup, the UEFA Champions League. That's the rarest and most difficult achievements in club football. In the 2022-23 season, Haaland became the first Norwegian since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to win the Champions League. But unlike Ole, Haaland was the main man. He finished the season with 52 goals in all competitions, a number not seen in English football for decades. At just 22 years old, he had conquered England. Pep Guardiola is known for being a tactical genius and also a demanding coach. Haaland, with all his raw power and instincts, had to adjust to City's system. He wasn't just expected to score, he was expected to press, link up, move intelligently, and contribute to the build-up. And he did, quickly. He started dropping deeper when needed, timing his runs with more precision, and even sacrificing personal glory to create space for teammates. Guardiola praised him, saying, "He's more than just a goal scorer. He's smart, humble, and hungry to improve." And that hunger kept growing. By the end of the 2022-23 season, Haaland was not just a footballer. He was a global icon. He had his own chants, memes, and nicknames. The Terminator, the Cyborg, the Machine. His face was on billboards. Kids wore his jersey, and major brands lined up for sponsorship deals. Yet through all of it, Haaland remained grounded. He still played FIFA, ate kebabs on cheat days, and made awkward jokes in interviews. Fame didn't change him. It just followed him. In the 2023-24 season, defenders were more cautious. Teams sat deeper. They tried to double mark him, block passing lanes, rough him up. But Haaland still found ways to score. He passed the 50-goal mark for Manchester City faster than any player in club history. He continued dominating in the Champions League. And he was nominated for multiple awards: Ballon d'Or, FIFA Best, and UEFA Men's Player of the Year. The scary part? He was still learning, still growing, still just getting started. Haaland didn't just dominate the Premier League, he changed how teams planned their entire defensive strategy. Managers had to adjust formations just to deal with him. Analysts spent hours breaking down his runs. Clubs started looking for defenders who could match his pace and power. He raised the bar. He wasn't flashy like Neymar. He wasn't mystical like Messi. But he was a pure force of nature striker in the old-school sense with new-age power. At this point, the big question is, what next? Will he stay at Manchester City for years to come? Will he one day move to Real Madrid? Can he lead Norway to their first World Cup since 1998? Whatever happens, one thing is certain. Erling Haaland is already one of the most dominant strikers of his generation. And he's nowhere near finished. The goals will keep coming, the records will keep falling, and the legend of Haaland the Viking, who was born to score, will only keep growing.